Arsenal HQ view. We don't just report the news, we analyze it, break it down, and give you the insider perspective you won't find anywhere else. Whether it's connecting the dots between Fabrizio Romano's tweets, understanding the financial implications of these megadeals, or predicting how these moves will impact Arsenal's tactical setup, we've got you covered. We're here to separate fact from fiction in the crazy world of transfer rumors, and today's episode is going to be one you absolutely cannot miss. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into what could be the most important few weeks of Arsenal's summer transfer window. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why this summer might be the one that changes everything for the Gunners. Let's get started. Arsenal's Victor Gyökeres chase. Is this the striker we've been waiting for? Picture this. It's a sunny afternoon at the Emirates Stadium, and the crowd is on their feet. A new striker has just found the back of the net for Arsenal, celebrating his goal with the passion we've all been craving. Could that striker be Victor Gyökeres? Based on the latest news, this dream might be closer to reality than we think. Hello, Arsenal Daily Talk family. Today we're diving deep into one of the most exciting transfer stories of the summer. The Victor Gyökeres saga has more twists than a London tube map, and it looks like our beloved Gunners are right in the thick of it all. Who exactly is Victor Gyökeres? Before we get into the juicy transfer details, let's talk about the man himself. Victor Gyökeres isn't just any striker. This Swedish goal machine has been tearing up Portuguese football with Sporting CP, and his numbers are absolutely mental. Since joining Sporting in the summer of 2023, Gyökeres has scored an incredible 97 goals. Yes, you read that right. 97 goals in less than 2 years. That's the kind of record that makes even the most cautious Arsenal fans sit up and take notice. But what makes him special? At 27 years old, he's hitting his peak years. He's got the experience, the hunger, and most importantly, the finishing ability that Arsenal have been missing. Remember all those games where we dominated but couldn't find the back of the net? Gyökeres could be the answer to those frustrating afternoons. The Andrea Berta connection, Arsenal's secret weapon. Now, here's where things get interesting. Arsenal's sporting director Andrea Berta has been keeping a close eye on Gyökeres, and this isn't just a casual interest. Berta knows talent when he sees it, and he's clearly seen something special in the Swedish striker. The first meeting between Arsenal and Sporting didn't go exactly as planned, but it wasn't a complete disaster either. According to reports from Portugal, this initial chat was more about testing the waters than making serious moves. Arsenal showed their interest, discussed some numbers, and walked away with a promise to come back with something more concrete. Think of it like going to buy a car. You don't pay the asking price on your first visit, do you? You have a look around, ask some questions, and then come back when you're ready to make a real offer. That's exactly what Arsenal did with Gyökeres. The numbers game, what's it going to cost us? Here's where Arsenal fans might need to take a deep breath. Sporting CP want 80 million euros for their star striker. That's roughly 68 million pounds, which isn't exactly pocket change, even for a club like Arsenal. Arsenal's first approach was reportedly around 46.5 million pounds, which Sporting quickly dismissed. It's like offering 20 quid for a designer jacket that costs 100. The seller is going to laugh at you, but at least you've started the conversation. But here's the thing that should give Arsenal fans hope. Berta is reportedly willing to go up to around 70 million euros. That's still 10 million short of Sporting's asking price, but it's a lot closer than the opening offer. In the transfer world, that gap can often be bridged with add-ons, performance bonuses, and a bit of clever negotiating. The question is Gyökeres worth that kind of money? When you look at his goal record and consider Arsenal's need for a reliable striker, it might actually be a bargain. Manchester United, the unwanted competition. Of course, Arsenal aren't the only ones interested in Gyökeres. Manchester United are also sniffing around, which adds an extra layer of drama to this whole situation. It's like being in a bidding war for the last slice of pizza. Nobody wants to lose out, especially not to your rivals. But here's the good news for Arsenal fans. Recent reports suggest that Gyökeres would prefer a move to the Emirates over Old Trafford. But, well, Arsenal are playing Champions League football, they've got a clear style of play, and let's be honest, they're just a more attractive proposition right now than United. Imagine being a striker and having to choose between playing for Mikel Arteta's exciting Arsenal team or whatever United are trying to do these days. It's not really a contest, is it? The player's perspective. What does Gyökeres want? This is where the story gets really interesting. According to the latest reports, Gyökeres is getting frustrated with Sporting's high asking price. He's worried that they're pricing him out of a move to the Premier League, which is clearly where he wants to be. Can you blame him? The guy has scored nearly 100 goals in less than 2 years. He's proven himself at the highest level in Portugal, and now he wants to test himself in the best league in the world. Sporting's stubbornness might be costing them their star player's happiness. Recent developments suggest that Arsenal met with Gyökeres' agent just this past Wednesday, and now they're considered favorites to complete the deal. That's a massive shift from where things stood just a few weeks ago. Arsenal's strategy: playing the long game. One thing that's clear from all these reports is that Arsenal aren't messing about. They're not going to drag this out for months like some clubs do. Berta and the team want to get this sorted quickly, which shows they're serious about bringing in quality. This approach makes sense. The longer a transfer saga drags on, the more chance there is for other clubs to swoop in or for the player to change his mind. Arsenal learned this lesson the hard way with previous transfer windows. The fact that they're willing to increase their offer shows they really want Gyökeres. This isn't just a speculative bid or a publicity stunt. This is Arsenal identifying a target and going after him with proper intent. The Benjamin Sesko factor. But wait, there's another twist in this tale. Arsenal are also being linked with Benjamin Sesko, the Slovenian striker who's been making waves in Germany. Some reports suggest Arsenal fans should be confident about signing Sesko this summer. So what's the deal? Are Arsenal going for both strikers, or is this a case of having multiple options? In today's transfer market, it makes sense to have backup plans. If the Gyökeres deal falls through because of Sporting's high demands, Arsenal can pivot to Sesko. Or maybe, just maybe, Arsenal are planning to bring in 2 strikers. With European football returning and the demands of a long season, having options up front isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Why this transfer makes sense for Arsenal? Let's be honest about Arsenal's striker situation. While the team has improved massively under Arteta, the lack of a reliable goalscorer has been obvious. How many times have we watched Arsenal dominate a game, create chances, but fail to put the ball in the net? Gyökeres could solve that problem overnight. His goal record speaks for itself, but it's not just about the numbers. He's a proper number 9 who can hold up play, bring others into the game, and most importantly, finish chances when they come. Think about Arsenal's style of play. Quick passing, movement in the final third, and creating opportunities for the striker. Gyökeres seems tailor-made for that system. He's not just a poacher who waits in the box. He can drop deep, link up play, and create space for the wingers and midfielders. The financial reality. Now, let's talk money because that's always a factor in these big transfers. £68 million is a lot of cash, even for Arsenal. But when you break it down, it might actually be smart business. Arsenal's revenue has grown significantly in recent years. Champions League football brings in serious money, and the club's commercial deals are stronger than ever. Spending big on a proven goalscorer could pay for itself through improved results and potentially even more European success. Compare that to some of the transfer fees we've seen in recent years. Darwin Núñez cost Liverpool £85 million. Antony cost United the same. Suddenly, £68 million for a striker with Gyökeres' record doesn't look too crazy. What's Sporting CP are thinking? From Sporting's perspective, their stance makes perfect sense. They've got a player who's scored nearly 100 goals in less than 2 years. They know there's no direct replacement available, and they're in no rush to sell. Sporting are also playing smart by setting a high price. They know that in today's market, top strikers are worth big money. They've seen what other clubs have paid for less proven players, so why should they accept less for their star man? But here's the thing. Every player has their price, and every club has their breaking point. If Gyökeres continues to push for a move and Arsenal keep improving their offer, Sporting might eventually have to accept reality. The latest developments, Arsenal in the driving seat. The most recent reports suggest that Arsenal have gained a significant advantage in the race for Gyökeres. The meeting with his agent this week seems to have been crucial, with Arsenal now being described as favorites to complete the deal. This is huge news for Arsenal fans. It suggests that all the groundwork laid by Berta and the team is starting to pay off. The relationship building, the serious offers, and the clear interest from the player are all combining to put Arsenal in pole position. Gyökeres's frustration with Sporting's pricing could also work in Arsenal's favor. If the player is pushing for a move and Arsenal are the preferred destination, that puts additional pressure on Sporting to be more reasonable with their demands. What this means for Arsenal's season. If Arsenal can pull off the Gyökeres signing, it could be transformative for their campaign. Having a proven goal scorer changes everything. It takes pressure off other players, gives the team a focal point in attack, and provides the kind of option that can win tight games. Think about last season's title race. How many points did Arsenal drop because they couldn't finish their chances? A striker like Gyökeres could be the difference between challenging for the title and actually winning it. It's not just about the goals either. Having a proper number 9 changes how teams defend against you. It gives Arsenal a different tactical option and makes them less predictable in attack. The waiting game, what happens next? So where do we go from here? Based on all the reports and developments, it seems like Arsenal are in a strong position to sign Gyökeres this summer. The key now is whether they can bridge that final gap with Sporting's asking price. Arsenal have shown they're willing to increase their offer, and with the players seemingly keen on the move, all the pieces are falling into place. The next few weeks could be crucial in determining whether this transfer happens. For Arsenal fans, this is an exciting time. The club is showing ambition in the transfer market, targeting players who can make a real difference. Whether it's Gyökeres or Sesko, it's clear that Arsenal are serious about strengthening their attack. The bottom line, why Arsenal fans should be excited. Here's the thing that should get every Arsenal fan excited about this potential signing. It shows that the club is thinking big again. They're not settling for cheap alternatives or unknown quantities. They're going after proven players who can make an immediate impact. Gyökeres fits the profile perfectly. He's experienced but not too old. He's proven at a high level, and he wants to play for Arsenal. In today's transfer market, finding a player who ticks all those boxes isn't easy. The fact that Arsenal are willing to spend serious money also shows that they're committed to competing at the highest level. This isn't about making up the numbers or hoping for the best. This is about building a team that can win major trophies. Wrapping it all up, the dream could become reality. As we wrap up this deep dive into Arsenal's pursuit of Victor Gyökeres, one thing is crystal clear. This isn't just another transfer rumor that will fade away in a few weeks. This is a serious pursuit of a top-quality striker by a club that means business. The journey from that first meeting with Andrea Berta to being favorites for his signature shows how transfer sagas can develop. It's been a slow burn, but all the signs point to Arsenal being in the best position to make this happen. For Arsenal Daily Talk readers, this is the kind of story that reminds us why we love following the transfer market. It's got everything: drama, competition, big money, and the promise of better times ahead. Whether Gyökeres ends up in an Arsenal shirt remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. Arsenal are back to thinking like a big club again, and that should excite every single one of us who bleed red and white. So keep your eyes peeled, Arsenal family. This summer could be the one where everything changes, and Victor Gyökeres might just be the man to fire us back to glory. What do you think? Is he worth the money? Let us know in the comments below. The Takahiro Tomiyasu puzzle. Will Arsenal's forgotten defender ever play again? Picture this. You spend £17 million on a player who looks absolutely brilliant in his first season. He fits your system perfectly, can play multiple positions, and seems like he could be a key part of your team for years to come. Then suddenly he disappears. Not because he wants to leave or because he's lost form, but because his body keeps letting him down. This is the story of Takahiro Tomiyasu at Arsenal. And right now, it's looking like one of the most frustrating transfer sagas in recent memory. The rise and fall of Arsenal's Japanese star. When Arsenal signed Tomiyasu from Bologna in the summer of 2021, there was genuine excitement among the fan base. Here was a player who could slot in at right back or center back, someone who understood the game well and rarely made mistakes. His debut season was everything Arsenal fans hoped for and more. But then the injuries started, and they never really stopped. Fast forward to today, and Tomiyasu has become something of a ghost at the Emirates Stadium. He's there, he's training when he can, but he's not playing. In fact, he's barely been seen on a football pitch for over a year now. The numbers don't lie. Let's talk about just how bad this injury situation has become. In the entire 2024-25 season, Tomiyasu played exactly 7 minutes of football. 7 minutes. That came in a home game against Southampton back in October, and it was just a brief cameo appearance. Think about that for a moment. A professional footballer at one of the biggest clubs in England managed less than 10 minutes of action in an entire season. It's almost hard to believe, but it gets worse. Looking at his last 3 seasons at Arsenal, Tomiyasu hasn't managed more than 10 Premier League starts in any of them. For a player who cost £17 million and was supposed to be a regular starter, those numbers are shocking. What went wrong? The problems really started to pile up this past season. Tomiyasu was dealing with persistent fitness issues that just wouldn't go away. No matter what the medical team tried, he couldn't stay healthy long enough to get a proper run of games. Eventually, it became clear that something more serious needed to be done. In February, Tomiyasu went under the knife for knee surgery. It was supposed to be the solution that would get him back on track. But here's where things get really concerning. According to journalist Charles Watts, who follows Arsenal closely, Tomiyasu might not be back in action until November at the earliest. That's right, we're talking about potentially missing the entire start of the new season too. Watts was pretty blunt about it on his YouTube channel. He said there was absolutely no chance Tomiyasu would be ready for pre-season training or the beginning of the new campaign. The hope is that he might return somewhere around the end of 2025, but even that's not guaranteed. The transfer window that never was. Here's something that might surprise you. Arsenal actually considered selling Tomiyasu during the January transfer window. After watching him struggle with injuries for so long, the club was apparently ready to cut their losses and move him on. But then his latest injury problem surfaced, and suddenly that became impossible. Who's going to buy a player who can't even train properly, let alone play matches? This left Arsenal in a really awkward position. They have a player taking up a squad spot and wages, but he can't contribute anything on the pitch. It's like having an expensive car that won't start sitting in your garage. The same problem exists for this summer's transfer window. With Tomiyasu still in rehabilitation and nowhere near ready to play, finding a buyer will be nearly impossible. No club wants to take that kind of risk on an injured player. What this means for Arsenal's squad planning. The Tomiyasu situation creates some interesting problems for manager Mikel Arteta and the club's transfer plans. On one hand, they essentially have a player who can't be counted on for the upcoming season. On the other hand, they can't really sell him either. But there might be a silver lining to this story. If Tomiyasu can somehow get back to full fitness, he could actually be incredibly valuable to Arsenal's squad. But because of his versatility, when he's healthy, Tomiyasu can play right back, left back, or center back. He's comfortable on either side of the defense and rarely looks out of place regardless of where Arteta puts him. This flexibility could actually help Arsenal in the transfer market in an unexpected way. The club has another defender, Jakub Kiwior, who's been attracting interest from Italian clubs. Kiwior is a decent player, but he's not as versatile as Tomiyasu. If Arsenal were to sell Kiwior, they'd normally need to find a replacement. But if Tomiyasu returns to fitness, he could fill that role perfectly. This would allow Arsenal to cash in on Kiwior without having to spend that money on bringing in another defender. The depth chart dilemma. Let's look at Arsenal's current defensive options and see where Tomiyasu would fit in if he was healthy. For the right side of defense, Arsenal have William Saliba, Ben White, and Jurrien Timber who can all play there. On the left, there's Gabriel Magalhaes, Ricardo Calafiori, and young Miles Lewis-Skelly. If you add a fit Tomiyasu to that mix, suddenly Arsenal would have 7 defenders who can cover multiple positions. That's incredible depth for any squad, and exactly the kind of flexibility that helps teams cope with injuries and fixture congestion. The problem is that one word, if. If Tomiyasu can get fit, if he can stay fit, if he can get back to his best level after so long out of action. The financial reality. From a business perspective, the Tomiyasu situation is pretty painful for Arsenal. They spent £17 million on him back